Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back on the dev server having a look at the British premium plane that is coming in. This is the F-4J UK and it's going to be coming in at rank 7 for the British. When you have a look at the tech tree, it's going to be right here, along with the Sea Harrier that's also coming in, and the reason to get this is to obviously research the Tornado, which is the big barnstormer for the British. This has access to a lot of stuff that the standard F-4J has for the Americans, but also some extra features which make it kind of stand out a little bit. It does have access to no internal weapons, so it doesn't have the F-4E's gun or anything like that, so if you want a cannon, you're going to have to mount it on the big schlong on the bottom, which I feel like is kind of fine, especially with some of the other stuff that this gets access to. If we have a look at the internals, it has two of the General Electric J79 GE10s with good afterburning thrust on them to power this big machine. It also has fuel all over it, as always, a two-man crew with the gunner and also the pilot, who has access to all the CCIPs and RPs, plus the radar, IWR, and a few other things. You have the radar in the front, the AN/APG-59. This one is an incredibly good radar with all of the good old look down and look up setups, and of course IFF, BVR, and ACM. You can pretty much do whatever you want with this radar, and that's kind of important for a vehicle like this, because as we've seen with a lot of vehicles, they kind of rely on their IR missiles, where the F-4J, I feel like, is going to have to rely a little bit more on its semi-actives. Looking at its modifications, obviously you get all of this for free, gets a bunch of countermeasures, 60 in total, which you're going to need because there's a lot of crazy missiles going around, and also the engines on this thing burn hot. So, you know, being able to turn off afterburner and smash chaff or smash flares is going to be very, very useful. It gets access to AIM-9Gs, AIM-7Es, and also the Skyflash missile. So the AIM-9Gs are your standard IR missile. Definitely one of the weaker ones at the highest echelons of the game. They're basically just worse AIM-9Ls, is pretty much the way to put it. They have a good lock-on range, they have a really good burn time of 60 seconds, and generally can go pretty quick. Their overload isn't the best, so you kind of have to launch them from a little bit further away. But as I said, AIM-9Ls do everything that AIM-9Gs do, but they also do more stuff as well, so they're just better. The R60s, it's a little bit different because they're a bit more short range. R73s are just better than this, and then obviously the bigger missiles from the Soviets are just better than this as well. So yeah, it's going to get some of the weaker IR missiles at the higher echelon, but it also gets some of the more deadly semi-active radar homing missiles in the form of the Sky Flashes and the DF variants, the dogfight ones. So they have 40 seconds of missile guidance time, which is good, 25G maximum overload, and also Mach 4 when it comes to maximum speed, and of course at the same time, paired with this radar, can be super deadly to anything coming in. You also do have to bring a gun along. Well, technically you don't have to bring a gun along, but if you don't, you're not going to have a primary gun armament, so it's usually better to do so. You can also bring a bunch of bombs, a bunch of rockets if you want to, so you can use this in ground forces as well if you want to, but I feel like there are probably better options around the place in general. So what you're looking from this machine is not something that's going to be nuts in terms of its, the meta right now. It does actually have two camos, which is quite nice. I actually think the grey camo is better, just because it has the nice tail on it. But you're not looking at a vehicle which is like going to take over the meta or anything like that. I think generally when we have a look at it, it's something which will be okay, but it's just not going to like go absolutely nuts in general. I think in general it's going to have to kind of fight its way through a lot of other vehicles that are going around. Like the main thing for a vehicle like this is there's just going to be so much like other stuff going on. Like there's going to be so many just crazy machines moving around with different missiles, just throwing them from everywhere. And you are still a Phantom, you are still fat, you are still, you know, not the most maneuverable vehicle in the world. And also at the same time, you don't have an internal gun, so you have to strap that to the thing, and, you know, it's not going to work as well as others. But at least you have a really good radar in the PDV. You can see right there, bang. Simple as that. You know, it's the radar, as I said, is one of the strongest in this setup. Like it's something to really marvel at the end of the day. Also, since it is pretty much a copy of the American one, you obviously already have the cockpit and everything. You also have these little like countermeasure pods which are here. Like I think in general they're pretty cool to see how they just pop out. Obviously not great for the good old you know, the way that the air flies over the thing, but what you're gonna do, you know, you can't have everything in life. And yeah, the sky flashes don't really fit the meta right now, is probably the way to put it. Like, one of the issues we have in War Thunder is, even though we have all of these crazy long-range missiles, most people don't really use them that way. Instead, what ends up happening is most people use them in ways which are, well, they just don't really use them that much. They use them in dogfighting ways, which these, you know, missiles are designed for, but you got to remember a lot of other vehicles now have much better missiles, and they're much more designed to, you know, kind of hit things as they go through. Whoa. And that means that their kind of power level is a lot less than before, which obviously isn't great, so that's a bit of an issue. An armament like this, if this came out like a year ago, or specifically 2 years ago, but a year ago, would have just been nuts. It would have taken over the game, and, you know, it would have just been absolutely crazy. But right now, with the way that it's set up, it can still do well in many of the situations and many of the setups, but it's not something that I feel like is going to really just annihilate everything that's around. You know, it's not going to deal with everything as well as what we have now. Like, if this had come out like a year ago, would have been fantastic. If this came out 6 months ago, you know, it'd still have been pretty good. But right now, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I feel it's just going to get out-muscled. It doesn't have the good enough IR missiles, and it's just too big. So it's just going to be a huge target to hit, which is going to obviously be a bit of a problem with it. And I'm hoping that I'm wrong, because I obviously want people to enjoy the vehicles, and I want people to, you know, have a bit of fun and get themselves the Tornado, which already isn't going to be a barnstormer of a vehicle. But at the same time, unfortunately, I think I'm going to be right on this one, which is very sad. So yeah, maybe we'll see something which proves me wrong. Maybe this thing will take over the meta. But I don't think it will somehow, unless great big changes happen. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Forge, Siegebreak, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, and also Sem Arslan, Wilkski, Uncle Bean, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.